Welcome, Wall Street Tactical fans. We have John Zidar, the stock wizard from Penny Boys, on with us today, and we're glad to have him here and see what leads to his success in the OTC markets. So, John, I just wanted to start off with a little bit of an introduction about yourself and how you got into the OTC markets.
Okay. I've been trading for about 3.5 years. Started just at the start of 2018. And the only thing that got me into stocks was the cannabis boom. I seen 2017 was ripping. And I got in after that, which was probably the worst decision I ever made. I guess there was nowhere to go but up if you got out of cannabis. But that was my introductory to it. It's how I first started OTC. Every cannabis stock was on a OTC market. There were nothing on the NASDAQ back then. And it opened up a whole new world to me. But it really wasn't until 2 years later I actually went any further than cannabis. I was locked up for a while.
Yeah, because at that time, cannabis is not legal federally, so they weren't allowed to be on, any Wall Street.
Well, truth of the matter is they're still not legal. The only way you get
Yeah.
on the major exchange is if you're a foreign company, which
Right.
I really don't understand. American companies can't go on an American exchange, but a foreign company can go on American exchange that sells what we consider illegal. Okay, well, we'll work with it. We'll work with it.
Yeah, there's a few big ones in Canada. Are you still in those, or are you completely out of the cannabis?
I have a few I'm still holding, but I'm not playing them for the big jump. The only way we're going to get a big jump is if they legalize it, which isn't going to happen. They'll decriminalize it. They won't ever legalize it. There's a thin line there. Who controls it? That's the thin line. But what will really make the difference is banking. Once cannabis companies get banking, there are billions. I mean, 20, 30 billions of dollars, not in the banks. Not even in the banks. All that cash will come back into the banks, which will help big time. But more importantly, they'll get tax deductions. Right now, they got to pay taxes on 100% gross. They don't get any deductions. And that's going to change the bottom line on every single company in a huge way. So until that happens, we're struggling.
Yeah, that's understandable. And I just want to get back onto how you said, after about 2 years, you really got into OTC stocks and really analyzing stocks. So how did that transformation happen?
Losing money.
Yeah.
The more you know, the more you grow.
Right.
There wasn't a lot I really knew. I was just playing the news. And the one thing I learned through the years is unless you're playing a momentum play, you plan on getting out in just an hour or 10 minutes, don't buy on the day the news comes out. That's
Right.
the most expensive day. And I ended up holding a lot of bags by jumping on the bandwagon, but being afraid to pull the parachute and get out of the deal. So once I was losing so much money, I started looking at other sectors. I just started looking at other things. And that's when I started realizing there's a lot of information I haven't been paying attention to because there wasn't a lot of information in cannabis. There weren't fundamentals. There was not a lot to consider. Everything was speculation. But when you get into the real market, there is information. There are facts. There's more than just hype and catalysts. You got value. You got startup companies that are going to explode one day. And that's what really caught my attention, is seeing the new tech, the companies that were blossoming. SPACs were getting very popular all of a sudden because there was such a flurry of companies coming onto the market, especially since COVID hit. And that's really when I made my change. COVID, that changed everything across the market, and we all had to change with it. So that's really when I started looking for opportunities.
Absolutely. And you're talking about the different sources of information that you use to analyze stocks. So how do you find those stocks in the OTC that you like, and how do you go about analyzing them?
Well, primarily, the first consideration is volume. I want stocks that have the attention of the people. Where there's people, crowds of them, you're going to have price action. We don't necessarily know if it's good or bad, but it isn't going to be great unless you have some volume there. So that became my primary focus. Where are the people? So I found sites like one is allpennystocks.com. They have an unusual volume search. You can put in up to 2,000 times the volume. And there's lots of stocks that have screaming volume, but that's just the day. So you would only be able to, get a head start for tomorrow. Another site I use is stockbeep.com. That gives you unusual volume in real time right now. But in saying that, it's not OTC. It is the major exchanges, but I trade penny stocks.
Mhm.
Penny stocks are anything under $5. And there's a lot of stocks on the NASDAQ that are under $3, which is the minimum for them. So they've become critical. They need to get up. So I like to find unusual volume as it's happening. So those two sites really help me. The other one, my favorite, the OTCmarkets.com website.
Right.
They've got that column for trades. You can see how much money they sold today, how many shares they sold, or how many trades. And when I see 568 trades, I figure that's a crowd of people. There's got to be more than 10 people there. So that's what I look at. And then I go see what's the catalyst. Any news, any disclosures today, 8Ks, jump over to Twitter. I've only got one set of eyes. Twitter's got a million of them. So I just throw in the ticker and see what they found. And there's all sorts of information. It just comes flooding. You can't trust it all, but they're
Right.
leads. And that's all we're looking for are leads.
Gotcha. So when you get the warm leads, you find some interest, like an interesting stock to consider. What do you do at that point? What are the fundamentals that you look at?
Well, I will then, if I find a stock that's got something going for it, people are looking at it. Obviously, I want to see the purpose, the catalyst, and that's obviously going to be a play rather than an investment.
Right.
However, in many cases, what happens is you end up looking at a stock you didn't know had value. And when you look at it a little deeper, you go through the headline news, you get some bullets because there's a lot of information. You can't cover it all. And DD needs to be concise until you need to focus. You don't want to get too deep into it. So I headline the news and look at the financials. I'm just talking about the overview. Are they making money or are they not? Many times I find companies that are just simply under the radar. Could be market sentiment, could be bad management. You never know until you start digging deeper. But on the surface, you say, oh my, there's something going on here. And the more you dig, the more gold you find. And you realize I'm onto something. But the biggest commodity in the OTC market, honestly, is patience. There is a lot of money to be made in quick plays, but it is because they're so cheap right now that when they get up to the NASDAQ, they're into the dollars. We're buying them at pennies and sub pennies. So the more patience you can give a stock with value, the more money you're going to make. And that's really what the OTC market is about, finding the giants before they grow up. And that's what the DD is all about. So I really like the filings. I like the headline news. And one of my favorites are CEO letters because the man driving the boat is the man that can crash the boat. I want to see what his plans are, see if he's got energy. You can tell by the way they talk, what they say. Is this man just lame? Is he just trying to get through this update? Or is he want us excited about stuff he's got dreams about building? Look at Elon Musk. Elon Musk had a dream and people invested in his dream before he ever had a vehicle. And of course, getting free money from the government didn't hurt. But even beyond that, they were investing consistently because they believed in the dream, because Elon Musk put his dream out there. So I really like to focus in on CEOs that are hyped up about their own company. That excites me because they're going to get this company to where they want it to go because it's their dream. I'm just riding on the shirt tails.
Absolutely. So when you consider those type of stocks, you consider the vision. How do you consider the history as well? Does that factor in as such as a company that has had a vision for say 5 years but hasn't panned out? Or, how do you tell which vision is going to become a reality versus which vision is just that a
Well,
vision?
that's why I'm called the stock wizard, my crystal ball. Seriously, I mean that's a question that it's all speculative. You can't
Right.
tell. You look at the niches, you look at the market, you see what's necessary. We know there's a big change since COVID. People are working at home now. So lots of businesses online are focusing on pandering to that market. Cybersecurity, since we're all moving information from corporations to private homes and they're using their own equipment, security is a big issue. But it's not very glamorous. It's not very exciting to talk about, but it is still going to be big business. You
Absolutely.
got other companies that are just breaking into markets like EV charging. Well, we know EV cars are coming. There just aren't enough chargers out there. Well, guess what? But how many companies are there? Which one is going to be the big one? Well, is there room for maybe 3 or 4 big ones? Do you have to get the biggest? You know, it is finding the waves and riding on them. There's a lot of companies out there that are in the right lanes. Now, whether they can produce as they're growing, that's the speculation. Microsoft started off in a garage.
Right.
They could have made a lot of mistakes. Things could have gone wrong, but they didn't. And there's other companies that did fall to the wayside. The dot-com boom, what was there? 1,500 dot-coms that fell away very, very quickly. So there's no guarantee. There's just a lot of speculation based on what we know to be in the world. And like I did a video the other day on uranium. I'm not into mines and I'm bloody sure not into uranium. But with everybody being on the CO2 clean footprint and with the peace accord, the green initiatives of this country, the whole world is on board with this. And uranium, when you look at everything else, it's the cleanest. It is the absolute cleanest and gives us the most ample supply of electricity we could use. So anybody who's in mining, uranium has been dead for 20 years. Now might be a time to look at it. And I would not consider that, except current conditions have changed in the world. So opportunities new flowers are going to come up, and you've just got to be looking for them. It's really about just keeping your ear involved with current events. You can't predict which one will be the winner, but you can tell if it's at least in the fast lane.
Yeah. And it sounds like you consider you look at the bigger picture of what's going on in the world, such as trends like, marijuana at the time,
Right?
EV cars, with that being tied into charging stations and uranium. And
Mhm.
then you go from the top down to the individual stock. Does that sound right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's not a process that can be passed on from one person to another because we're each in different circles. It's just paying attention to what you're involved in. But the biggest thing is following the people.
Mhm.
People, the longest line at the movie theater is probably the movie you should see. It's
Yeah.
probably the one you're going to enjoy. Even if you've never seen a commercial about it, chances are. I happened to jump into a stock today that was copper mining. I don't like mining companies, but bloody heck, it was screaming. I do like money, you
Yeah.
know? And for short plays, I don't care about the company, honestly. I don't care about their management because I'm not in long enough for any bad news to affect me. I'm going to get out before it starts dropping. So, when you're investing, you need to know as much as you can because time on the OTC market, they could do a reverse split. There could
Right.
be a change in global affairs. There
Right.
could be a buyout. Uh, Management could get arrested for spending money they didn't have a right to spend. So things can change, and your long hold could end up being a big bag. I mean, it happens all the time. So there's a lot of risk. And right now, the OTC market is she's fallen hard. Last year at this time, and I'm not even talking about the stimulus month of February, we were doing between 60 and 50 billion shares a day. We are now at 7.5 billion shares a day on the OTC market. It's bad. What is curious, though, is that we're still spending the same amount of money, 2.2 billion. Whether it be 30 billion shares or 7 billion, we're still doing 2.2 billion a day. So it's getting thinner and thinner. Lots of share companies aren't getting anything. Now, personally, I think between the SEC ripping down all the filing stocks, the stocks that weren't filing, they got ripped down. I think that really hurt the market. But more so, I think the NFTs are hurting the OTC market. I think virtual property is hurting the OTC market. These are huge investments, these pieces of investing. NFTs aren't cheap and virtual property is not cheap, and you don't flip these. People have been trading cryptocurrency on bad days on the stock market. And then they come back to the stock market when it's good with that same money. That money in NFTs and virtual properties is not coming back. It's gone. And the more people that invest in that, the less money is left over here. And inflation's getting the rest of it. So all those extra trillions, it's dwindling away right now. And you don't see it in the OTC market. It's a sad state of affairs. I'm looking up there. That's where you see me pointing. I'm watching the OTC market right now.
Up at the screen above.
Yes, always got it in view. If the day's alive, so is my screen.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for those OTC stocks that you're looking at currently, what industries are they in right now? So you mentioned that there's different ones and you have short plays. So the short plays that you're looking at, what are they right now?
Well, short plays are whatever's hot today. Short plays are whatever's hot this week. Metaverse metaverse is a hot key buzzword right now. And for a couple of weeks there in the morning, I would wake up and just go to Google and type in OTC metaverse and just see what today's news was on any OTC stock in the metaverse. That was my play because the word itself drew attention, plain and simple. So, you find things that's hot and just stay with it. You ride the waves at the beach they're at until they run out and then go find another beach. There's lots of waves. I use my my charting and I do screeners for the top runners for up to $3. I could go up to $5, but I'd like to stay below $3. Those are the first ones I'm going to look at. Who's got the most volume? Who's got the biggest gains? See if you can find out the reason why. Is there any more to be gotten from it today? Because by the time you see it, it's already doing something. And of course, like I said, the OTC market, I always run over there to see who's getting the most trades. And you want to do it early. I mean, the sooner you get in, the bigger gains you're going to grab in the day. But for short plays, if I see something today that I think is going to run tomorrow, I will normally be out by 10 in the morning. I don't want to stick around. I've noticed on the OTC markets, it used to be the fool's hour went to 10:30. Now fool's hour is a half hour long. It only gets to about 10:05. So you'll get that quick run. And at 10 o'clock, 10:05, it dips. The whole market just seems to pause and decide, what are we going to do now? And before it decides what it's going to do, I've made my decision. I'm out of there. I may leave money on the table, but if you get out on a rise while it's rising, I've got a goal of 20%. I see it hit 20%. Now, greed, it hits 30, it hits 40. I'm going to stick around, see where it goes. More times than not, I will lose it because it falls faster than it climbs. So as soon as it hits 20%, I'm going for my buttons and I'm typing in a sell. Oh, look, it's up to 35. I'll go a little slower. 40. By the time I get that sell order in on the climb, I'm up 60, 65% on the climb. And it may go to 100. Ah, doggone it, I missed it. As soon as it hits up there, it starts falling. Well, you start selling when you see it fall. You see it at 60, you start typing. By the time your order gets in, you're down to 10%. So you make a habit of getting out early. Get out as you're being shot up, not coming back down. And that's hard to do. But if you take money every day and you leave money on the table every day, you'll still get wealthy.
Absolutely. As long as you're consistently getting wins.
Yeah, you don't measure your success by what you leave on the table. We all look, the way I figured, if you leave money on the table, that is a pat on the back. You picked a good stock. If it kept going, good for you. The fact is, did you get some of it? Did you get some of it? You can't marry every pretty girl, but you can date every pretty girl before you get married. So, there's no lack out there. So it's an interesting market, but right now it is a little bit treacherous. Your DD is very important right now. And I've got to say your shorter plays are probably safest. If you're going to get in long, don't buy everything at once. Buy a little bit to remind yourself, I like this stock. It's on your chart now. It's in your portfolio. it may have a bad day. We see a lot of bad days. The market is falling on stocks it should not be falling on. That could be an advantage for you if you've only bought 20% of what you truly want. And I don't think most people know how much they want. They just say, how much have I got?
Yeah.
And that's how much I'll get. And that's not risk management. You want to keep some cash because you never know what could happen. You could get a better deal. And if you bought it at $2 and it falls down to $1.50, aren't you going to be glad when you can buy another 20% at $1.50? And now you're only at $1.75. So knowing what you're going to do helps you do what you need to do. So you need to have a plan. You really do, because the market is choppy waters. You need to have as many redundancies as place, stop losses, know when you're going to get out, place them in there. Know when you're going to get out when it goes up. Most people just take as much as they can get. Looking for the ceiling, they bump their head and fall all the way back down. Know when you're going to get out, take that, be happy with that, and pat yourself on the back for doing exactly what you planned on doing. That's how you succeed. Not by getting the most you can get, by doing what you plan on doing as often as you plan on doing it.
Right. So for those short plays, you just mentioned that you have stop losses as well as, essentially stops for gains where you're going to pull the money out. Do you have those automated stop losses as well as, taking
No,
gains?
the OTC, there's not a lot of automation with the OTC. There's a lot of difference. Like, for example, you can't buy at market. You have to buy at a limit order. So you just can't grab a stock as it's running. That's kind of tough. Stop losses you have to put in manually. If I'm playing a fast play, I will probably put in a stop loss because it could drop faster than I can respond. And you want to have a safety net in case you lose your footing. That's just all there is to that. You work hard for that money. You want it back in your hands to be able to play with again. You're not in it for an investment. You're just trying to grab a little bit extra on top of what you got. Long plays, I normally won't put in a stop loss because I'm in it for the long haul. And if
Yeah,
it falls, that's an opportunity to buy cheap.
right.
And if you buy everything, it's really aggravating. You can only go up to be happy. Why do that to yourself? Just get a portion of what you want. If it falls down, you get excited. Ooh, I'm going to get some for cheaper. And you don't feel bad about it falling because you already have a belief. You've already done your DD. You know pretty much that this company is going to succeed and grow. And as long as you have that confidence, when you see it fall, it should just be a for sale sign for you. I'm going to Walmart's. They got it on sale today. I'm buying 10 of them. So it's just prudent not to get everything at one time because you don't know where the stock's going to go and you're going to frustrate yourself 50% of the time when it doesn't go your way.
Absolutely. And so for those short plays, do you usually let them play out till they hit your targets, or do how long do you take to evaluate those? Typically,
Short plays, you're talking Momo plays and in the moment plays, there's not a lot you can do. Technicals are something I do a lot of trading with on the OTC. I will look at the bar charts and really study the SMAs. We all have our different ways, but technicals are very important because they are an expression of what people are doing. It is a way to see if they're happy, if they're excited, if they're moving in the right direction. The chart is more than history. It's current activities. And if I can see what you're doing now, there's a good likelihood I can predict what you're going to do in just a little bit from now. If you move your right foot forward, chances are the left is going to come next. Not guaranteed, but if I'm watching, I can do that. So the charts really give me an indicator. And on short plays, I may not look at anything. I don't care about the float. I'm just looking for that gain. And if the chart looks right, if it's showing growth, as I said, on that copper company I got in today, none of it matters. I just get in and I ride it up. And I get out half the time I have a target. If it's a morning play and I'm getting in at the bell, I've got a target and I'm out of there. If I'm just playing something I see running, I will just watch the charts. And as soon as I start seeing the MACD fall, the RSI fall, if I see 2 directional change bars, I'm out of there. I'm not trying to hit a home run. Home run hitters are remembered. But Babe Ruth was also the strikeout king. And most people don't know that. He struck out just as often, probably more than he hit home runs. but he was not the most valuable player on the team. The most valuable player was the one that got on first base the most often. That
Mhm.
was the most valuable player. Getting on first base is what counts. A home run is great. Everybody loves a home run, but you don't win games just with home runs. You need to get a man on first so you can push him to second, push it to third, and that's what we do. You just want to get to first base. Don't be looking for that home run. Take what you can get and be happy that you made 10, 20% on your money today. You do that every day, you're going to be wealthy. You can take $99 and make 52 trades a year. That's one a week. If you get in and get out at 20%, one trade a week, putting in your entire investment, you will make $204,000 in a year. Now, it sounds easy. You start off at $99 and you're going to make $20 off your $100 bill. Easy to put in that $100. But when you got $50,000, are you going to be able to invest that $50,000 into one stock and shoot for that 20%? Those zeros make us feel differently, and they shouldn't. You should put a piece of paper over those zeros and see a $50 bill, because it is the same premise. It's just percentage. We're not playing dollars. You're playing percentage. And if you put in $10 or $1,000, if we each made 20%, you didn't make more money than me because you invested more. We each made the same. It is about percentages. Just keep playing the percentage game and put your money back in, and it will grow. It's called compound, and it grows fast that way.
Absolutely, absolutely. So in regards to, some great long-term holds that we have, we're running out of time today, but we want to give our viewers a taste of, a couple stocks that you think are your best long-term plays at the moment.
Long term. Well, I've got a couple that I believe are definitely long term. Actually, I thought one of them was short term. One is a very unique company that is set up for some humongous growth, and I'm invested in it heavily because I truly believe in it.
Mhm.
TBPMF. It's a Canadian company that came up with some medications that fight the worst pain in the world and can alleviate it in 3 minutes. They're studying it on cancer for patients, the worst pain in the world. It's better than morphine. It has no side effects and it's not addictive.
Wow.
Here's the kicker. It's made from CBDs, THC, and terps. They discovered that the terps are little arrows that can designate where these CBDs and THC go, and exact amounts work. And this has already gone through all the trials. It's through a final FDA 10-week trial, which has been delayed because they were having a hard time getting patients who wanted to dedicate the last 2 months of their lives to this trial. Honestly, that's what it came down to. So they had to get other drugs so they could get more patients in. This has a market value of $60 billion. Not that they're going to tap into. No, that's their share. They also have a drug for SARS. They have a drug for eye ulcers for people and animals, all made with the same chemicals, different variations. They are experts in this field. And I think right now they're on a very, very low. They're under 10 cents right now. And I see this going over $300 when they get their approval. We're already in Europe. We're already in Malta. It's already been approved by a reborn trial in Germany. The reason I say $300, I didn't just pull that number out of my head. There is one other company in the country that got Epilix, a CBD drug for epilepsy, approved by the FDA. And they went from $18 to $280. And this company only has 200,000 customers. Well, everybody has pain in the world, and SARS doesn't have a cure. And
Mhm.
there's just so much here. So that is one company that is under the radar, disrespected, unloved, and can make a lot of money here. They anticipate the trial to be done before the end of this quarter. That's what they tell us. So fingers crossed. I'm really in this one big. Um, Another one under the radar might be MOTNF, PowerTap. PowerTap is a hydrogen company. They had blue hydrogen, which is almost perfect hydrogen, and then they went to green. That's perfect hydrogen. There is no CO2 loss, even captured. It's gone. And they have contracts with the California government to put up hydrogen pumps at gas stations already built, and they're going to get tax credits. $1.2 million for every pump they install. It takes 2 weeks to put in a pump. The gas station gets money, they get money, and when they start selling the hydrogen, they move to a different tax credit program, just like Elon Musk's Tesla. They're going to have millions of dollars coming in before they sell one drop of hydrogen. For every pump, they're going to get $1.2 million. They just did a deal with the Arab Emirates. They have a country over there from end to end. They are covering it with hydrogen pumps. They are growing. Now they're working with home hydrogen, so people can produce hydrogen at their own homes and produce their own electricity off the grid. I think hydrogen is going to surpass all of the lithium and all the batteries that we got going. I think it's a dark horse, but I think they're going to make a ton of money too. Since they're going to have lots of money coming in before they make any money, that's going to help them grow.
That is an amazing deal. I would love to get some money before it ever does anything. Something
Yeah,
that
that's what people said about Tesla. And Tesla, one year, they said they made $31 million. And when you look, they had actually gotten $39 million in tax credits, but they lost $8 million that year.
right,
The company was in the red, but it looked like they were in the green because they had $31 million given to them. Yeah,
right, from the
that's the kind
government.
of company you want to be invested in.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, John. And to all of our viewers, you can check out John Zidar's channel. We will put in the comment section below. And, if you are interested in those stocks, do some due diligence. And if you find that to be helpful, check out his channel.
Yeah, I'm over there at On Top and Hot. Just put that or Zidar in your key search. I put up a video every weekday, sometimes multiple stocks, but I am bringing you stocks that got potential and heat, folks. So if you like tips, these aren't exactly tips, they're the truth.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, Mark. Pleasure being here, buddy.
Yeah, pleasure having you.